Jamil Baz, you're head of client analytics at Pimco. It's been a couple of weeks since the markets were in turmoil, and step by step markets are recovering now. How would you describe investor sentiment right now?
Well, certainly for a while, investors were extremely worried. Remember that the volatility on the equity market was multiplied by 5. It's just that the problem, of course, is it doesn't pay to worry after the fact. It's a much better idea to hedge before the fact when the hedge is still very cheap.
And was there increased, or is there increased demand for hedging assets still these days?
Well, at this stage, I would say that whatever demand there was over the couple of weeks has abated, in the sense that the markets have come back, as you mentioned. And as we speak, the S&P 500 is about 3% up on the year. So there's not much of a crisis to speak of.
So would you recommend hedging assets right now for the future?
I absolutely do. But I think the challenge is to find cheap hedges. And that's precisely the kind of portfolio that we at Pimco are working on. Be able to identify cheap hedges, meaning portfolios and sub-portfolios that are negatively correlated to the market and yet have positive expected returns.
So what's your outlook on the markets for the next couple of months and weeks? You just said that people are worried, and what's your outlook?
Well, as a preamble, I should tell you that at Pimco I am paid to worry, so I tend to be more on the bearish side. And with this said, I would say that there are two big issues in the market today. Number one is very high leverage, and number two is extremely high valuations. Both the bond market and the equity market are rich, and at the same time, total debt to GDP is extremely high. That makes for a very powerful combination for a potential bearish outcome.
So how should an investor put up the portfolio for the next months or even years?
I think the US Treasuries are interesting where they stand today. I think European and Japanese equity markets are on the cheap side. But I think most importantly, the investors should be looking for cheap hedges. In other words, they should be looking for those unicorn assets that are at the same time negatively correlated with the market, yet will not cost you much. And here I'm thinking about bond markets, I'm thinking about momentum portfolios, all of which have desirable hedging characteristics and yet have positive returns.
My last question would be, you said, well, it's time to hedge still. That probably includes the fact that the market correction at this time is not over yet.
Well, let's wait and see. Obviously, it's very difficult to predict the short term. All I can tell you is that the Shiller PE is at close to 34. There's every reason to think that the equity risk premium is indeed lower now and justifiably lower. However, no matter how you look at it, valuations are very stretched in the market, and investors should be extremely careful.
Mr. Baz, thank you for your time.
Thank you.